Hey guys, this is John and I'm playing Jeanluc in the 5-minute pool on ICC, or Jeanluc. I'm playing e4. Hope you guys are doing well. And I'm hoping for a better game than what happened last time against FM Guerrero de Luz. That was not a good game on my part. So let's try to recover today. Okay, so a6. I usually play bishop g5 here. Let's give this line another shot. This is an incredibly theoretically dense line. So far, so normal. White prepares castling queenside. Yeah, queen c7, preventing bishop c4. I'll just castle. Usually black does not castle short. So bishop d3 is my first thought, just proceeding with development. But I can also try to launch my kingside pawns at him. g4, for instance, looking to take on f6 and then play g5. I think bishop d3 is probably the proper way to play it, but on bishop d3, what am I going to do about knight c6, offering to trade my knight? Bishop e2 has the benefit of keeping that knight protected. No, I'm going to play bishop d3. I think this is the proper way to position the bishop, get it aiming at h7. Let's drop this back, although knight b3, b5. I could take. They'll take with a b pawn more than likely. And then maybe I can look to play e5 in the future. That doesn't seem right. So what to do? I probably should have figured this out on the previous move. It might have been a mistake to play bishop d3 and only now try to figure out what to do. I really don't want to lose time, so knight takes c6 is coming to mind. Yeah, let's play that. Thing is, if I play queen h3 looking to play e5, I think they're going to play e5 themselves. Let's play this. They're going to play e5 again, though. All right, here's a funky idea. Let's do this. And if take, which I expect they will play, maybe then queen h3, looking to line up against h7. Can also take first and do that, but queen h3 maybe straight away is best. Take on f6 is even playable. Take on f6, bishop takes, knight e4 perhaps. So many options. Okay, let's go here. All right, I'm either going to create a brilliancy or I'm going to go down in flames after sacrificing too much material. What's it going to be? I'm up against a significantly lower rated player, so I would obviously like to win this game. I think g6 is nearly forced for black, because if h6, I think I will sacrifice on h6. e4, okay, so they're trying to give a pawn to maybe dissipate some of this pressure. So if knight takes, bishop takes g5, they get mated. That can't be good. I can take on f6 first, and then play knight takes. But if I take on f6, f4 is hanging. So I believe I should do this. Yeah, and on knight takes, take with the bishop. They can play f5, but I'll take on e7 should they do that. And positionally speaking, maybe I could claim to be better. Also, did they lose this c6 pawn? Yeah, queen takes e7, bishop takes c6. That's just a pawn. Yeah, let's nab that. All right, so I went from thinking I was going to have an attack to this scenario. Let's play queen c3. I think this is a good move to not only protect our bishop, but also protect that b2 point. One threat that black might have had in the previous position with the queen on h3 is queen c7, attacking the bishop on c6 and the pawn on f4. Yeah, see, now they're trying to set that up. g3 probably. Yeah, looks standard. I'm expecting bishop b7. Rook there, okay. Bishop a4. Let's go bishop a4. I'm willing to trade queens and take on those doubled pawns. I think that's all right in order to get the queens off the board. At least I'm not going to get checkmated. If bishop b7, I can play rook he1. And if bishop d5, trying to hold this pawn, I can play bishop b3 and look to trade. e6 is a clear weakness. Okay, so now we're in a calmer position than what we had previously. When black had sacrificed that pawn, or lost that pawn, with the queens on board, I would have been more concerned about my king safety. But now I'm going to concern myself with consolidating this extra pawn. Okay, so they're just letting me take on c3. So if I take pawn takes, rook takes c3, I can take f5 thereafter. That's got to be good for me. Does rook takes e6 work at all in this position? No, they just take with the bishop. Hence, let's do it this way. After rook takes c3, I could also play rook e7. But I think it's better to just bank this pawn. I'm actually threatening rook e8 mate in doing so. Let's come here. Let's give a check and just push that king a bit further away. It's going to bring the king out. So if I take, I think I can take. I'm not scared. If rook c6, rook e2, just defend everything. So I'm up 3 pawns now. Rook there, okay. Let's bring this up. So I'm threatening mate. King f5 is almost forced. h3, nah. Actually, h3 maybe. Don't think that's so great, though. Rook e5, king here. h3 they can take on g3. That's my only concern. All right, I got to do something. I got to move. I know they can take on g3 after this move, but I'm thinking check and then take on e5. And hope for something to happen.
Check.
And then I have to play rook f6.
Check.
And they take here.
Check.
So I'm going to go win this pawn. I'm up 2 pawns in the endgame. So that's my hope that I can just win this position. With 30 seconds, though, it's dicey. Let's just try to trade these pawns first of all.
Check.
We'll gradually move these up. This is like a theoretical endgame now.
Check.
Let's go a4. Let's come here. Not making much progress that way. Bring the king up. Got to be quick about this.
Time.
Check again. At some point, they're going to have to go long with their rook to set up checks. I maybe should have played c5 on the previous move. Yep. So he's going long with this.
Check.
With his rook.
Check.
Now we're going to have like a Lucina position. Let's do this first. Cut off their king. They can go. Probably shouldn't have done it this way. Let's come. What to do?
Check.
Now they have rook takes
Check.
c6 to draw this.
Check.
Ooh, now I'm winning.
Check. 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 Check.
If I can do this correctly.
Check. 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 Check.
All right.
Checkmate.
Ooh, got the checkmate at the end, but that was not good technique. Don't look back on that rook ending and think I played that perfectly. For instance, just one easy draw they had was right here. After rook h6 check, king c5, they could have played rook takes c6, king takes c6, stalemate. I knew as soon as I played rook b7 and forced their king in the corner, I knew that that could be a concern. So that was an eventful game. Let's go back and take a look at it. So Najdorf Sicilian. And I usually play bishop g5 against this variation, or I did when I was an e4 player. It's one of the sharpest lines available to white. Somehow the positions appeal to me after bishop g5 and f4 and queen f3 and castle queenside. But this is not a line you want to stumble into without knowing really a lot of theory. So, I mean, there's almost no line you can play in the Najdorf from the white or black side where you can get by with little theoretical knowledge. So be advised about that. So bishop g5, e6. These moves are all standard. A common move order mistake for black would be knight bd7 right here. That allows bishop c4, and white can set up a sacrifice on e6. So the knight does belong on d7 most often in these structures, but black wants to play queen c7 first to control that c4 square. Also, bringing the queen to c7 allows black, when they played b5, to be able to put the bishop on b7 and have the queen protected. That might be relevant because, say black were to play b5 immediately, that leaves them open to e5 with the discovered attack on the rook. Whereas if the queen's on c7, they can actually respond to e5 with bishop b7, hitting white's queen on f3. So queen c7, castles, and almost always I see black playing knight bd7 here. Occasionally I think you'll see h6, but knight bd7 is the main move, after which white chooses between bishop d3 or pawn g4. But castles, although playable, I thought had sort of a dubious reputation. But I'm not sure that bishop d3 is the right way to attempt to punish castling short. The Najdorf is a very fragile opening. It's a great opening for black, but you really have to have a good understanding of dynamics to play it from the black side. And one phenomenon that often occurs in the Najdorf is that black has to be flexible with their king and be willing to keep it in the center and not commit it to one wing or the other. And I don't think castling should lose for black. I'm just a little skeptical of this variation. So let me start up the engine and see. So I played bishop d3 here. And even as I played that move, I expressed some regret about the fact that my rook would not be defending the knight. So probably here's already a point where I need to look for an improvement. The engine says queen g3, maybe looking to play e5. I thought about bishop e2, but it really felt like I wanted the bishop pointed at the pawn on h7. This is where an engine purely probably will not be the best way of finding the path forward in this opening. It'd be better if I was looking in my database right now. Like if I fired up a program like ChessBase, which I use all the time for opening analysis, and just look this position up, I'd probably find dozens of games from this position, and that would be a more reliable indicator of how to play than the engine eval might be. Not that the engine can't tell you something about this position, but in the openings, it's better to usually trust human practice and use a database rather than strictly relying on the engines. So bishop to d3, knight c6, and I really didn't want to lose time. So black's attacking my knight, and I felt like I reached for this knight b3 move, but it feels like a concession if I have to play this. It seems like black gets easy play after b5. So hence I took on c6. Usually knight takes c6 is not a move you want to play in the open Sicilian because it allows black to take back and thereby open the b file and obtain more central influence. But I felt like if I was going to be consistent with bishop d3, I pretty much have to take. So take, b takes, because I don't want to lose time. I don't want to be forced to make a retreating move and allow black to consolidate. And here I played e5, pretty aggressive, but again, in keeping with the same spirit of trying to maintain the initiative, this is what I would like to do. Queen h3 was another thought, looking to play e5 when the bishop and the queen are lined up against h7, but I didn't like e5, and that light square bishop will attack my queen, and it will blunt this bishop because now I have no chance of going e5 myself. And as you can see, the engine clearly prefers black in that case. So e5 take, and now queen h3. Okay, so the engine is giving triple zeros after h6. I thought this move was very risky because of bishop takes. But the engine's pretty cold-blooded. It might come up with something here. There's no immediate threat for white. I'm not threatening to mate them on h7 because note that the knight covers that square, but I might be threatening like a rook lift, like something like this. The engine says rook d8, give a check, king f8, check again, king e8 may be dangerous, check. Yeah, that looks pretty dangerous for black because king d7 is right in the line of fire here. So that line, I mean, what if I play a slow move? Like, let's say I play my rook f1 move. Rook takes d3, so black might give the rook for the bishop, killing one of my attackers. And if take, Knight d5. Very complicated, but the computer believes in black's defenses. That makes me feel a bit better about going for the e5 pawn sacrifice, though, because if it's going to require some very precise defense from black that might look scary to a human, like allowing bishop takes h6, well, in a blitz game, that's not something I'm opposed to as the attacking player here. I thought they were going to play g6, but that does weaken f6. Yeah, queen h4 is one move I would have considered here, trying to pump up the pressure on the f6 knight. And if knight d5, I think I can take here, and I'll be attacking the queen and also the bishop on e7. So if bishop takes g5, take here, they take our queen, we take the rook in the corner, and we're winning material. So black instead played e4. I took on e4. E4, I think, is just an attempt to try to slow me down and trade a couple pieces. Also, the queen is attacking f4 now, so it makes some sense. So here, and now f5 trying to block the bishop. The engine again wants to play the h6 move. And now it really likes white's game after this. Interesting. So bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, yep, and take the pawn. So it's interesting in chess how you have to shift your goals in a position. You know, up till this point, I was playing for the initiative and I was trying to attack. But now I've won a pawn, and as you can see, I kind of went into like consolidation mode hereafter. Rook b8, and I tried to play a safe move now, queen to c3. This move felt good. Possibly it's not the best move, but I liked it because I've got some loose points, like c6 and f4 are undefended, and queen c7 is a move that would double attack those points. So queen c3, trying to take at least one of them under observation, makes sense. I could play queen f3 to defend both, but I think I want my queen a little closer to my king to assist in the defense of, say, that b2 pawn. So I like queen c3. Also, if bishop d7, I have this rook d7 move in mind, which actually just might win on the spot. That's a pretty powerful rook. I'll be attacking g7 and the bishop. So black played queen c7. So here I might have missed a good move in queen e5. That's a clever move. And the point is, if they take my bishop, I take the rook. And I'm going even up more material now. So queen e5 looking to swap the queens, take and take. Yeah, now we're in an endgame. Maybe e5 is a bit weak, but I don't see how black can attack it so easily. I played g3, black played rook b6. I played bishop a4. Somehow it felt best to put my bishop on this diagonal leading towards the king. But maybe it's not the best thing to do. Maybe. Engine says bishop a4, bishop g2. Hard to say. I think bishop a4 is all right, looking to put the bishop here. Either way, I'm going to have to accept doubled, isolated c-pawns, but it's not so bad. I'm still up a pawn. e6 is a clear weakness. I feel like this is a position white should win with accuracy. So bishop here attacking my rook. I played rook he1. I was expecting bishop d5 to try to control this point. Is that what they played? Yeah, and then I played bishop b3. But maybe... the engine is pointing out something I didn't see. Bishop e4, blocking me from attacking e6. Then I can play rook d7, and still better, but maybe this bishop will be an annoyance on the e4 square. Yeah, because after this, it felt really good. I felt like I was breaking down this structure, especially that pawn on e6. So breaking down the d5 and e6 squares. And again, black should play bishop e4. But they played here, and I banked another pawn. Rook takes c3, rook takes f5. I figured just get another pawn, and I'm threatening rook e8 mate. It was a little difficult from here, though, because my time was dwindling. That was the big problem. And being up these two pawns without black having anything immediately threatening to speak of, I should win, but rook endings, it's amazing how many defensive resources there are in rook endings. As you saw, like black should have drawn the game at the end. So here,
check,
if I could get one pair of rooks off the board, that would be excellent. Like, if everything else stays the same, I'd love to get one pair of rooks off the board, because that means, for instance, they won't be able to attack c2 with both rooks.
check,
And then he let me take on h7. I thought black was going to play king h6, after which I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I want to have time to double up and attack h7, but if I try to double up, they're going to double up themselves and attack c2. So I might be forced to make a defensive move. But then king f6 was played, letting me take here. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure at this point I didn't play a very good move. This might be okay, but g4 is even better. g4 is plus a million for white. Huh. So advancing, and what is the threat? I mean, g5, king f5 doesn't look like anything at the moment. So let's just say rook takes a2. Now rook e7. Okay, so it's kind of like the mining threat I try to set up with a rook coming here, this rook coming to f7. But now these pawns control the two squares that black can move to forward. Huh. Yeah, g4 does look good. This move also should probably win. But king f5, and he's kind of trying to wiggle his king into my position. Yeah, and I knew I was spending too long at this point, but it felt like there should be either a mating net or a way to just simplify this to a clearly winning endgame. I'm up 3 pawns now, and black's only threatening rook takes a2, so I wanted to make an accurate move, but I spent a little long and didn't come up with a great move, h3, allowing rook takes.
check,
I just did that because I wanted to get one pair of rooks off the board. Once I saw I had 30-some seconds left, that was my main concern,
check,
not allowing the position to become too complicated. So I'm still up 2 pawns here. Yeah, and note that if black took on h3, I could take on g6 right away. Here I defend the pawn, bring the king up.
check,
Okay, so this is an endgame I really need to study more, because I've never had this endgame in practice. I might have had it in some Blitz games before, but never over the board. A and C pawns, or as it's often shown in endgame textbooks, F and C pawns. So white's up 2 pawns, which usually means a win. But when the pawns are disconnected by one file like that, there are some drawish tendencies. I do think this is a win for white, but it requires accuracy. And there are some defensive setups that you need to be aware of, as demonstrated in the game. There were some stalemate tricks I had to avoid. So this game is going to motivate me to actually go and take a look at this endgame. Because this is an endgame I've been putting off studying for quite a while, and I think it's high time I learned it. Yeah, and I had 30 seconds to try to execute the win here. The problem is these pawns are clumsy to advance. 2 connected pawns are just, like, capable of barreling opponent over without too much difficulty, but when they're split by one file like that, it's tricky. I think he actually waited a little long to gain counterplay with this rook. Yeah, like here's a good example, the king on a5. It's actually a little difficult for me to make progress here, because if I play c4, that allows rook g3 check, and my king has to back off, and then black will take this pawn. So rook d4 I played. Brought the king up. I mean, I wonder if black had simply just waited with their rook, like rook h5 or something, and just asked me what I plan to do here. Rook b4, as the engine says. Let's just say wait again. I can't play this and trade down to a pawn endgame, because this is a draw. I'm never going to get my king in front of the pawn. So, can white improve their position here? I mean, it seems like I should. Maybe rook b8 or something and try to check here. Whether I would have found that with 20-some seconds left is another question. Okay, so now I'm making some progress. Check. My pawns are getting a little closer. I've got my rook on a good file, kind of cutting off their king. Yeah, now it feels like it should be a win for sure. A6, that was kind of foolish. I think I should have played c5. You don't want to get, when you have two pawns that are advancing, you don't usually want to allow one pawn to get too far ahead of the other. You almost always want to try to advance them in tandem, if possible. Yeah, so c5 would have been winning. Let's just see the technique. I'll just follow the computer's line. Rook g1, king b5 makes sense. King b7. Let's say check.
Check.
This is kind of similar to the game, actually. Getting the king in front of the pawn. White might just say, here, just go ahead and take that pawn. It doesn't matter. Yeah, because my pawn is advancing pretty quickly on the c-file. Yeah, that's not going to present white with too many issues. So black could have made it more difficult by not moving their king back a few moves ago. So a6, rook h5. I played c5, king b5, check. Yeah, and I don't want to get too attached to the a pawn. If I come here, black's just going to check me anyways. So come to c6, they take the pawn.
Check.
Yeah, I checked on c7. That was probably a poor square. I can just go to d7 right away and then advance the pawn immediately. Yeah, that would have been much better. Like king a7, just c6. Yeah, and c7 is coming. I might have to demonstrate the Lucina position, but I don't know with that amount of time if I could have done it, but yeah, this is winning. So
check.
I played king c7, maybe not as accurate, but still should be winning, I believe. Rook b6. Maybe I'm not winning after that move. See how the eval dropped right there. So better is rook d8. Rook d8. Huh. Because white might be harassed with side checks like this. Yeah, I'm not sure this is a win anymore. Huh. I mean, if I can get my king to c8 and the pawn to c7, it's a win. But black is going to attempt to prevent that. Yeah, this is actually similar to a chess cognition episode I did recently. Like, say I play c6 here, and then check.
Check.
Rook d7. I believe black can draw with just rook h8. This is one of my chess cognitions where I played Kostya Kavutsky, Konstantin Kavutsky. It's the same drawing mechanism. And white can't move the king forward. Yeah, and if the king comes here, king b8. The black's going to slide in front of the pawn. c7, king c8. Huh. Study your rook endgames, guys. If you want to get better at chess. Rook endgames. That's doubly true if you're an active tournament player. Because you'll get these endgames a lot. So is it possible king c7 throws away the win? Despite me having black's king fairly well cut off, especially after rook b6, it probably isn't winning. The engine doesn't seem to think so. Whereas king d7, just allowing a clear path for the pawn to march through, does win.
Check.
So as played, I went here, point being that black cannot trade because now my pawn's going to advance in queen. Black, of course, saw that and played here. I advanced. And now black demonstrated a typical technique. So getting the rook in a position to give side checks. And black has a lot of side checks that they can administer to my king. I have 13 seconds left here. So I give a check, king a6. Yeah, I think it's just unwinnable. Check here. I mean, I can try something like this, but it's going to lead to that same type of position. Rook h8, no progress to be made. Draw. So I played king d6, and he gave a check. So black would have just slowed down a little bit. I know that they were playing off my time, but had they slowed down just a tad, they would have realized that this is just an instant draw. I got to take the rook and stalemate. And they had that resource over the next couple moves. Like here, they could have played rook b5. Same idea. Instead, this happened, and now I'm actually promoting my pawn and winning.
Check.
And then I was just being very careful not to blow the mate.
Checkmate.
Okay, so Nice game as far as instructional content. Not a perfect game by any means, but very instructive game. I know I spent a little longer analyzing this one. And I got to go back and brush up on my A and C or F and H pawn endgames. Those are a little tricky, as you can see. And it should have been winning, barring the time. But even here, I made a pretty elementary mistake. King C7, probably blowing the win. King D7 would have won. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.